Ladies and gentlemen, when a woman discovers her purpose, something shifts in the atmosphere. She stops moving according to the expectations of others and starts walking to the rhythm of destiny. Her steps become deliberate, her voice becomes steady, and her presence starts to carry power. She's no longer distracted by opinions or delayed by doubt. She has been through too much, cried too long, and prayed too deep to ever go back to living small. Her pain refined her, her struggles trained her, and her healing positioned her. Now she moves not out of fear, but out of divine clarity. See, there's a difference between a woman who's wandering and a woman who's awakened. The wandering woman asks for direction. The awakened woman is the direction. She doesn't wait for someone to tell her who she is. She already knows. That knowledge makes her unstoppable. When she knows her purpose, she doesn't chase validation. She attracts alignment. She doesn't settle for what looks good. She waits for what's meant for her. Her no becomes as powerful as her yes, because both are guided by vision. She's not moved by attention, she's moved by assignment. Purpose gave her peace. Purpose gave her boundaries. Purpose gave her a fire that cannot be extinguished by rejection, fear, or failure. What used to break her now builds her. What used to confuse her now clarifies her. She doesn't fight for a place at the table. She builds her own and invites purpose-driven souls to sit with her. You can't manipulate a woman who knows why she's here. You can't distract her with gossip. You can't deceive her with flattery. You can't stop her with obstacles, because purpose has made her dangerous. Dangerous to insecurity. Dangerous to limitation. Dangerous to the version of herself that once believed she wasn't enough. Every time she speaks, something happens. Every move she makes echoes through generations. Her faith becomes contagious. Her presence becomes prophetic. Her life becomes a message. She is the storm that brings renewal, the flame that burns away doubt, the light that exposes truth. She is dangerous not because of what she carries in her hands, but because of what she carries in her spirit. So if you see her walking differently, speaking boldly, loving freely, know this: she's not arrogant. She's anointed. She's not lost. She's led. She's not waiting for permission. She's walking in purpose. There comes a moment in every woman's life when the fog begins to clear, when the noise of the world starts to fade, and she finally hears the quiet but powerful voice inside her whisper, "This is who you are, and this is why you're here." That's the moment purpose awakens. It's not a loud explosion or a sudden miracle. Often a gentle revelation that grows stronger every time she chooses truth over comfort, faith over fear, and alignment over approval. When a woman discovers her purpose, she becomes unshakable because now she's rooted in something eternal. Purpose doesn't arrive wrapped in perfection. It's born out of pain, cultivated through struggle, and revealed through surrender. Woman doesn't find her purpose when everything is easy. She finds it when she's been broken, overlooked, and underestimated, yet still chooses to rise. Purpose comes alive in the ashes of disappointment, in the silence of waiting, in the courage it takes to keep moving forward when no one understands her vision. You see, power without purpose is dangerous, but purpose without power is incomplete. When a woman knows her purpose, the two fuse together and create something unstoppable. She begins to see that everything she's been through, the heartbreaks, the delays, the rejections, weren't punishments, but preparation. Every tear watered the seed of her destiny. Every closed door redirected her towards something greater. Every season of loneliness refined her discernment. What once felt like loss was actually divine redirection. Purpose doesn't make life easier, makes life meaningful. It gives her the strength to endure what would have broken her before. It teaches her to see beyond what's visible and trust what's possible. When purpose awakens, fear loses its power. Doubt loses its grip. The opinions of others lose their control, because now she's not performing for applause. She's walking in assignment. She doesn't need validation when she's carrying vision. And that's where her power begins to emerge. She stops apologizing for being bold. She stops shrinking to make others comfortable. She stops waiting for permission to become who she was created to be. Purpose gives her permission to shine. It gives her the courage to speak, to create, to lead, to heal, to love, and to build. She realizes that her light doesn't threaten anyone. It simply exposes what's possible. A woman awakened by purpose is not easily distracted. She's not interested in meaningless competition or empty conversations. Time becomes sacred because she knows that every hour wasted is an opportunity delayed. She guards her peace, protects her energy, surrounds herself with people who remind her of where she's going, not where she's been. Purpose purifies her circle. It eliminates distractions, makes her selective, not selfish. When purpose awakens, even her pain starts to make sense. She begins to understand why certain relationships had to end, why certain prayers went unanswered, and why certain seasons felt so heavy, because purpose reveals perspective. It teaches her that rejection was actually protection and that delay was divine timing. What she once called failure, she now calls formation. What she once thought was over, she now sees as transformation. Purpose turns her wounds into wisdom. She no longer needs to chase opportunities. Opportunities begin to chase her. Doors that were once locked begin to open, not because she forced them, because she aligned herself with who she was always meant to be. That's what purpose does. It magnetizes everything that belongs to her. She doesn't have to beg, bargain, or bend anymore. She just has to believe. And that belief is her power. It's not arrogance. It's awareness. Awareness that she carries something divine inside her. Awareness that her existence is not accidental. Awareness that her gifts, her voice, and her vision were placed within her for a reason. When purpose awakens, she starts to live from her spirit instead of her fear. She stops asking, why me? And starts declaring, why not me? She becomes unstoppable because she's anchored in something greater than circumstance. Even her presence begins to shift the atmosphere. When she walks into a room, she brings peace, focus, and authority. Her words carry weight, not because they're loud, but because they're true. Her silence speaks just as loudly as her strength. Purpose gives her posture. It lifts her chin, straightens her back, and steadies her voice. She doesn't just exist anymore. She embodies her calling. People start to notice the change. Some will be inspired. Others will be intimidated. But she doesn't need to explain herself anymore. She understands that not everyone will recognize her transformation, and that's okay. Purpose doesn't need an audience. It needs obedience. It doesn't thrive in popularity. It thrives in authenticity. She knows who she is, and that knowledge alone is power. Purpose also awakens compassion, because once she finds herself, she stops judging others who are still searching. She becomes gentle with those still lost, patient with those still healing, kind toward those who don't understand her journey. She uses her power not to dominate, but to lift, not to impress, but to inspire. Not to control, to create change. Her purpose is not just about her, it's about everyone connected to her destiny. And make no mistake, when she walks in purpose enough, she becomes dangerous. Dangerous to limitation, to fear, to every lie that told her she wasn't enough. Dangerous to generational patterns that tried to silence her. Dangerous to systems that thrive on her silence. She is no longer controlled by external forces because she's guided by an internal compass. She's not just surviving anymore, she's leading, she's healing, she's becoming, her life becomes a testimony that when purpose awakens, power follows. Not the kind of power that demands attention, the kind that changes everything it touches. The power to love again after being broken. The power to hope again after disappointment. Power to start again when others counted her out. Purpose doesn't just awaken her, it revives her world. She now moves differently. She speaks differently. She loves differently because she is different. Every choice she makes is filtered through purpose. Every goal she sets aligns with destiny. Every boundary she enforces protects her peace. She's not the woman she used to be, and she's not trying to be. She's walking in the fullness of who she was always meant to become. Purpose awakens power because it reconnects her to her divine source. It reminds her that she was never meant to live in survival mode. She was created to thrive, to lead, to heal, to impact, to evolve. And once she sees that truth, she can never unsee it. She's awake now. She's aware now. She's powerful now. There is a sacred transformation that takes place when a woman decides to stop running from her pain and instead allows it to teach her. Pain, though unwelcome, becomes the very classroom where purpose is taught, character is refined, and destiny is revealed. Every tear, every heartbreak, every betrayal carries within it a lesson, one that can only be understood through endurance. Pain is not punishment, it is preparation. It shapes the woman who is destined to walk in power, molding her into someone strong enough to carry the weight of her calling. When she looks back on her journey, she begins to see that her most painful seasons were not the end. They were the beginning. The moments that felt like destruction were actually divine reconstruction. The people who walked away made space for her healing. The disappointments that once felt like rejection became redirections. Every wound became a seed of wisdom. Pain did not destroy her, it built her. It stripped away her illusions, revealed her strength, and taught her that survival was not enough. She was born to overcome. Pain has a way of humbling the soul. It takes her to a place where she can no longer depend on her own strength. It brings her face to face with herself, her weaknesses, her fears, her doubts, and forces her to confront them. That confrontation is not meant to break her, to rebuild her with truth. Pain purges everything that is not real. It burns away pride, ego, and dependency on others' approval, dismantles false identities, and exposes the core of who she really is. And in that exposure, she discovers authenticity. Woman who has walked through pain and refused to give up carries a power that cannot be imitated. She has cried on the floor and still risen with grace. She has been betrayed and still chosen forgiveness. She has been overlooked and still decided to shine. Her scars are no longer signs of weakness, they are marks of survival. Each one tells a story of how she was pressed, but not crushed, wounded, but not defeated, broken, but not destroyed. Pain may have visited her, but it did not take her peace. Instead, it taught her peace. Pain teaches patience, slows her down long enough to hear what life is really saying. It reminds her that growth doesn't happen overnight. It happens in seasons. Sometimes the winter of her life feels endless, but deep beneath the surface, something sacred is growing, roots are forming, strength is developing, purpose is maturing. Pain prepares her in private for what she will carry in public. It is in the hidden seasons, the ones where no one is applauding, that she learns endurance. There is a version of her that pain had to unlock. The woman she was before the storm could not handle the responsibility that comes with her purpose. Pain enlarged her capacity. It deepened her empathy. It made her wise, discerning, and intentional. She no longer reacts impulsively. She responds with grace. She no longer lives for validation. She lives for alignment. Pain trained her to distinguish between what is temporary and what is eternal. It taught her that not every battle is worth fighting. Not every loss is truly a loss. When she was in the middle of it, she couldn't see the purpose. The nights were long, the silence was heavy, uncertainty was suffocating. She questioned everything, her worth, her decisions, even her faith. But now, standing on the other side, she realizes that pain was not the enemy, it was the messenger. It carried a divine assignment to strip her of everything that kept her small and awaken everything that made her powerful. Pain didn't show up to destroy her life. It showed up to realign it. The truth is, pain refines purpose. It takes the raw material of her potential and turns it into something solid, something unshakable. Just like gold must be refined by fire, her purpose had to pass through the flames of adversity. Without that process, her power would be fragile, her vision would be clouded, and her confidence would be shallow. Pain gave her depth. It gave her a testimony. It gave her a voice that carries authority because it comes from experience. Now, when she speaks, her words heal. When she moves with wisdom. When she loves with discernment. Pain has made her sensitive to the silent struggles of others. She recognizes in others what she once fought through herself. And because she's been there, she can lead others through their own storms. That's what makes her dangerous. Her ability to transform her suffering into service. She no longer hides her scars. She wears them as proof of what grace can do. Every painful experience was a lesson in disguise. The heartbreaks taught her how to love without losing herself. The betrayals taught her how to trust herself. The failures taught her resilience. The silence taught her to listen to her spirit. Pain was her greatest teacher, even when she wanted to drop out of its classroom. Every test it brought her way developed strength she didn't know she had. And now she stands tall, not because she avoided pain, but because she endured it. There's a divine irony to it all. What once hurt her now helps her. The very thing that broke her heart became the reason she found her purpose. Pain forced her to rebuild from the inside out. It pushed her to evolve into the woman she was always meant to be. It refined her character, purified her motives, reminded her that growth is often disguised as grief. What she thought was an ending was actually an unveiling, the unveiling of her power, her purpose, and her peace. Pain is the preparation ground for greatness. Without it, she wouldn't know her strength. Without it, she wouldn't value healing. Without it, she wouldn't appreciate peace. Pain taught her that everything has meaning, even the moments that feel meaningless. It taught her that sometimes life has to shake you in order to wake you. It's in the breaking that blessings are born. It's in the stretching that she finds her strength. Now she understands that her pain was never wasted. Every tear watered her transformation. Every sleepless night birthed a deeper level of faith. Every no prepared her for a better, wise. Every loss cleared space for new beginnings. She doesn't regret the journey anymore. She honors it. Because if she hadn't walked through the fire, she would never have discovered the flame within her. She's no longer ashamed of what hurt her. She's grateful for it because it built her endurance, sharpened her focus, and strengthened her faith. Pain became her preparation, her divine training ground. It transformed her from a woman who merely endured life into a woman who embodies purpose. And now, she walks with grace, speaks with authority, and lives with peace. Because the truth is, pain didn't come to destroy her. It came to develop her. It came to shape her into a vessel strong enough to carry greatness. It came to prepare her heart for love, her spirit for leadership, and her soul for destiny. She is not a victim of what happened to her. She is the product of what she learned through it. There is a quiet power that comes when a woman finally sees herself and her life clearly. Clarity is not just understanding what you want. It's recognizing who you are, what you carry, and what no longer belongs in your life. It's the light that cuts through confusion, the voice that silences chaos, and the peace that replaces fear. When clarity enters a woman's heart, she no longer moves from emotion, she moves from vision. And that's where confidence begins to grow. So many lose their strength not because they lack ability, because they lack clarity. Without it, you find yourself running in circles, saying yes when you should say no, staying where you've outgrown, fighting battles that don't belong to you. Confusion drains power. It makes you question your worth, your decisions, your timing. Clarity restores power. It brings focus, direction, and courage. It makes your steps deliberate. It makes your no firm and your yes powerful. A woman with clarity doesn't chase everything that glitters. She moves with discernment. She knows that not every opportunity is aligned. Not every invitation deserves her presence, and not every relationship serves her purpose. She's not moved by popularity, she's anchored by purpose. Clarity teaches her that peace is more valuable than approval, and that alignment is more important than attention. When she understands this, she stops trying to fit into places she's outgrown. She starts honoring her own boundaries. And that's when confidence begins to rise, quiet, unshakable, and deeply rooted. Clarity isn't something you find overnight. It's something you cultivate. It often comes after seasons of confusion, heartbreak, and loss. Sometimes life has to strip away the noise before you can hear your own truth. Sometimes God has to remove distractions before you can see your direction. The moments when she felt most uncertain were actually moments of divine redirection. The fog was never permanent. It was the pause before revelation. Once that clarity comes, everything begins to shift. When a woman sees herself clearly, she no longer apologizes for her vision. She stops shrinking to make others comfortable. She stops seeking permission to be powerful. She's not afraid of her reflection anymore because she finally recognizes the divine within her. She realizes that confidence isn't about perfection. It's about alignment. It's about knowing that she is exactly where she's meant to be, becoming exactly who she was meant to become. That realization sets her free. Clarity also brings peace of mind. The anxiety that once filled her heart begins to dissolve because now she understands what deserves her energy and what does not. She doesn't have to over-explain herself anymore. She doesn't need to prove her worth to anyone. She knows who she is, what she's called to do, what she will no longer tolerate. Her boundaries are clear, her standards are high, and her heart is guarded. Not out of fear, but out of wisdom. There's a distinct glow that surrounds a woman who walks in clarity. It's not arrogance, it's assurance. Her posture changes. Her words carry weight. She doesn't rush. She doesn't panic. She trusts her timing because she trusts her source. She no longer competes with anyone because she understands that what's hers cannot miss her. Clarity has shown her that comparison is a thief of peace. Distraction is an enemy of destiny. So she stays focused, grounded, and intentional. Clarity also transforms how she loves. Before, she might have mistaken attachment for love, validation for connection, or comfort for compatibility. But with clarity, she no longer confuses attention for affection. She understands that real love doesn't require her to lose herself. It invites her to expand. She knows that being alone is not the same as being lonely. Her solitude becomes sacred because she's no longer afraid of her own company. She's confident in her identity, her boundaries, and her value. When clarity comes, she also learns to speak differently. Her words become fewer, but more powerful. She no longer argues to be understood. She speaks to be heard. She doesn't defend her decisions to those who misunderstand her journey. Clarity has taught her that not everyone is meant to understand. Not everyone deserves access. She's learned to let silence speak for her. She's learned that peace is louder than explanation. Confidence built on clarity is not loud. It's calm. It doesn't need to announce itself. It shows up in how she walks, how she works, and how she worships. It's in the way she holds her head high after failure, the way she stands firm in her truth even when it's unpopular, the way she chooses patience over panic. Her confidence doesn't come from people applauding her. It comes from knowing she's aligned with her purpose. That's why she doesn't chase validation anymore. She's already validated by clarity. Beauty of clarity is that it doesn't just change how she sees herself. It changes how she sees everything. She begins to notice patterns she once ignored. She sees lessons in losses, blessings in boundaries, and grace in growth. She no longer views closed doors as rejection. She sees them as divine protection. She doesn't fear change anymore because clarity has shown her that every ending is a beginning in disguise. Clarity also brings a sense of gratitude because once she understands the reason behind her pain, the purpose behind her process, and the blessing behind her delay, she can finally exhale. She can look back on everything that tried to break her and say, "Now I understand." She sees how every confusion had a hidden lesson, every detour had direction, and every breakdown built her faith. Clarity makes her thankful, not for the pain itself, but for the wisdom it produced. And when confidence grows from that kind of clarity, it's unshakable. Because now her confidence isn't rooted in appearance, achievements, or approval. It's rooted in truth. She's no longer afraid of outgrowing people or places. She's no longer afraid to be misunderstood. She knows that purpose requires separation and that clarity often costs comfort. She's willing to pay that price because she's tasted peace. And once a woman experiences peace, she refuses to settle for chaos again. There's something divine about a woman who walks in both clarity and confidence. She's magnetic yet grounded, gentle yet unmovable. She doesn't need to be seen to feel significant. She doesn't need to shout to be heard. Her energy speaks for her. She knows her assignment. That knowledge gives her authority. She no longer wonders if she's enough. She knows she is more than enough, and her life reflects it. Clarity strips away confusion, and confidence replaces fear. Clarity sharpens vision, and confidence fuels execution. Together, create a woman who is unstoppable. She no longer doubts her path, she designs it. She no longer questions her worth, she embodies it. Every step she takes now is firm, not because she knows what will happen next, but because she trusts herself to handle whatever comes. She's no longer moved by noise because she's anchored in knowing who she is, what she deserves, and what she's capable of. Clarity taught her that confidence isn't arrogance, it's authenticity. It's the peace that comes from standing in truth. And once she found that truth, whole world shifted. There comes a time in a woman's life when she realizes that peace is not something she finds, it's something she protects. Realization changes everything. She begins to understand that not everyone deserves access to her energy, her emotions, or her time. She learns that love is not proven through overextension, and kindness is not measured by self-neglect. Boundaries are not walls, they are doors of discernment. And when a woman learns to honor her boundaries, she becomes unshakable, because that's when her peace, her healing, and her worth finally becomes sacred. Boundaries are born out of wisdom. They often come after seasons of being drained, overlooked, and taken for granted. She didn't always have them. There was a time when she said yes out of guilt, stayed silent to keep the peace, or gave more than she received. But pain taught her what peace feels like, and exhaustion taught her what alignment requires. She realized that boundaries aren't about keeping people out. They're about keeping her peace in. They are the invisible lines that define where her love ends and someone else's expectations begin. When she first began to set boundaries, felt uncomfortable. Saying no felt selfish. Stepping back felt like rejection. But with time, she learned that boundaries are an act of self-respect. They are declarations of identity. They are sacred promises she makes to herself. I will not shrink to fit into spaces that dishonor me. I will not tolerate what disrupts my spirit. I will not keep pouring into what refuses to pour back. These promises become the foundation of her strength. A woman without boundaries lives in constant chaos, but a woman with boundaries walks in quiet confidence. She doesn't react to everything that demands her attention because not everything is worthy of her response. She doesn't chase explanations or force understanding. She knows that her peace is too expensive to be traded for temporary approval. The more she values herself, the stronger her boundaries become. Boundaries are not about controlling others. They're about governing herself. She can't stop people from crossing lines, but she can choose whether to stay when they do. That's power. That's wisdom. That's growth. She no longer allows her emotions to be manipulated by guilt or fear. She doesn't justify her boundaries to those who benefited from her lack of them. She simply enforces them with grace and consistency, because once peace becomes sacred, excuses lose their power. Her boundaries are not rooted in anger. They're rooted in healing. They are the evidence that she has evolved. The same woman who once tolerated disrespect now recognizes her worth. The same woman who once over-explained now lets silence speak for her. The same woman who once begged for reciprocity now knows that her energy is a privilege, not an obligation. She no longer confuses self-sacrifice with love. She understands that the healthiest version of her is the one that knows how to say no with peace and yes with purpose. Boundaries also transform her relationships. They reveal who truly respects her and who only values her when she's convenient. When she starts saying no, some people leave, and she learns to let them. Because anyone who is intimidated by her boundaries was benefiting from her lack of them. True connection doesn't fear limits, it honors them. The right people won't take offense to her self-respect, they will celebrate it. Setting boundaries also refines her discernment. She no longer entertains everything that calls her name. She chooses peace over popularity, solitude over superficiality, and alignment over attachment. Her circle may become smaller, but it becomes sacred. She doesn't need crowds, she needs clarity. She doesn't crave noise, she craves nourishment. Boundaries filter her environment so that what remains is authentic, peaceful, and purpose-driven. Boundary isn't always a spoken rule, it's also an energetic shift. It's the calm in her spirit that says, I will not be moved by chaos. It's the strength in her silence that says, I am not available for dysfunction. It's the softness in her smile that says, I can love you and still choose myself. Her presence begins to carry authority because she has learned to protect her space without bitterness. She can be gentle and firm, loving and unapologetic, kind and clear, all at once. Boundaries also change how she views herself. She no longer feels the need to rescue everyone or fix everything. She understands that she can care deeply without carrying what isn't hers. That's maturity. That's healing. She knows that her worth isn't tied to how much she gives. It's revealed in how wisely she gives. Her time, energy, love are sacred currencies, and now she spends them intentionally. Before she may have thought boundaries meant isolation. Now she knows they mean liberation. They set her free from cycles of overgiving and underreceiving. They release her from relationships built on obligation rather than authenticity. Boundaries make room for peace to breathe, for growth to flourish, for purpose to unfold. She no longer feels guilty for resting, saying no, or walking away, because she understands that preservation is not pride, it's stewardship. There is power in a woman who knows her limits. She is no longer easily manipulated by emotional pressure. She's no longer distracted by drama or guilted into self-betrayal. She knows that peace is a form of power, and she guards it with her life. Her boundaries are not made of brick. They're made of wisdom. They're flexible enough to allow love, but strong enough to block harm. And the beauty of it all is this: boundaries don't just protect her, they teach others how to treat her. Every time she enforces one, she sends a message: I value myself. Take my healing seriously. I am not for everyone, and that's okay. That message doesn't need to be spoken, it's felt. People can sense when a woman has done the inner work. Her confidence has a quiet authority. Her energy has a purity that cannot be faked. Her peace has a presence that demands respect. Boundaries are also spiritual. They are how she honors the gift of life she's been given. When she protects her mind, she protects her purpose. When she guards her time, she guards her destiny. When she chooses silence over chaos, she honors her soul. She realizes that peace is not found in avoiding conflict, but in choosing alignment. Every time she says no to something that disrupts her peace, she is saying yes to something sacred, her evolution. A woman with sacred boundaries is a woman who has mastered balance. She can love deeply without losing herself. She can serve others without abandoning her own needs. She can give freely without emptying her soul. Her boundaries are not barriers, they are bridges that connect her peace to her purpose. There will always be those who misunderstand her strength, who call her distant or selfish. But she no longer explains her evolution to those committed to misunderstanding her growth. She knows that her boundaries are not up for debate. They are divine instructions for her well-being. She stands firm, rooted in peace, confident in her worth, fearless in her self-respect. Because once a woman realizes that her boundaries are sacred, everything changes. Her energy becomes protected. Her peace becomes priceless. Her presence becomes powerful. She doesn't chase, she attracts. She doesn't react, she responds. She doesn't seek validation, she radiates self-assurance. And from that sacred place of wholeness, she finally understands boundaries aren't barriers to love, they are the foundation of it. They are how she honors herself, her healing, and the divine within her. And that, more than anything else, is what makes her truly free. Rejection, it's a word that stings every soul that's ever dared to hope, love, or believe in something more. It cuts deep, especially when you've given your best only to be told that it wasn't enough. It can make you question your worth, your path, even your purpose. But over time, if you listen closely, rejection begins to reveal something profound. It's not the end of your story. It's the divine pause that saves you from settling for less than what was written for you. Rejection doesn't destroy destiny, it redirects it. When a woman is rejected, she feels it in her spirit. Whether it's a job that didn't work out, relationship that fell apart, or a dream that didn't unfold as she imagined, the pain of being denied access can feel unbearable. What she doesn't see in that moment is how rejection is working behind the scenes, rearranging her steps, positioning her path, and preparing her for something far greater than what she lost. What looked like an ending was actually an introduction to a stronger version of herself, clearer sense of purpose, and a deeper understanding of divine timing. Rejection is not an enemy, it's an instructor. It teaches her what's not meant for her, what no longer fits, and what she has outgrown. It forces her to pause and reevaluate, to separate desire from destiny, and to trust the unseen hand that's guiding her. Every no carries wisdom if she's willing to listen. Every closed door carries a message, not this one. Yet, not here. And though that message hurts, it's always for her protection. You see, rejection is often the universe's way of removing what could have distracted, delayed, or even destroyed her. Sometimes the things she wanted most weren't meant to be hers. Not because she wasn't deserving, because they were beneath what she was destined to carry. A closed door is not punishment, it's preservation. A lost opportunity is not loss, it's redirection. What feels like rejection is often the rerouting of destiny. The woman who learns this truth begins to view rejection differently. She stops asking, why did they leave? And starts asking, what did this teach me? She stops saying, why didn't I get that? And starts realizing, because something better is being built for me. Her perspective changes. What used to break her now builds her. What used to confuse her now clarifies her purpose. Rejection refines vision. It clears away illusions and reveals what's real. It strips away attachments that no longer serve her soul. It humbles her, but it also strengthens her, pulls her away from the shallow and pushes her into depth. It teaches her that peace is not found in being chosen by others. It's found in choosing herself. The moment she learns to embrace rejection as redirection, she steps into freedom. Because now she understands she cannot be rejected from what belongs to her. What's truly hers will always find its way to her. Maybe not on her timeline, but always in divine time. No, she hears today as often the protection she'll thank God for tomorrow. The door that slammed in her face was not the only door. It was just not her door. There's a difference between being denied and being redirected. Denial closes off. Redirection points forward. There's a deep beauty in hindsight. When she looks back, she begins to see the pattern. Every rejection that broke her also built her. Every person who walked away created room for someone who would walk with her. Every opportunity she thought she lost was simply making space for the right one to arrive. What once made her weep now makes her wiser. What once felt unfair now feels divine. Rejection also exposes identity. It reveals who she thought she was versus who she's truly becoming. Removes her need to prove, to please, or to perform. When people reject her, she realizes they are not rejecting her worth. They're rejecting their own ability to see her value. And that's no reflection of her. It's a revelation of them. She no longer takes rejection personally. Instead, she takes it purposefully. The woman who understands this begins to walk differently. She's no longer desperate for acceptance. She no longer chases people who make her feel small. She's not afraid of now anymore because she knows that no is simply divine language for not here. Her peace is not disturbed by who leaves or what doesn't work out. Her heart is anchored in something greater, trust. Trust that everything that exits her life is clearing the path for something that fits her growth. Rejection also cultivates resilience. Every time she faces a closed door and keeps walking, she grows stronger. Every time she's told she's not enough and still chooses to believe in herself, she grows bolder. Time she's overlooked but still refuses to dim her light, she grows wiser. Rejection doesn't shrink her, it stretches her. It develops her faith muscle. It teaches her how to stand tall even when the world says sit down. And perhaps the greatest gift of rejection is redirection toward purpose. Because once she stops mourning what she lost, she begins to see where she's being led. Sometimes the place she didn't want to go becomes the place she was always meant to be. Sometimes the person she thought she couldn't live without was standing in the way of her healing. Sometimes the dream that failed was only the foundation for something greater to rise. Rejection becomes the compass that leads her back to herself. She realizes that not every ending is a loss, it's a rerouting. Not every goodbye is tragedy, it's transformation. Every no is rejection. It's divine protection. She starts to thank the doors that closed because now she sees what they made room for. She no longer prays for everything she wants. She prays for alignment with what's right. Because she's learned that if it costs her peace, it's not her portion. When rejection becomes redirection, she walks differently. She's no longer afraid of failure because she knows failure is simply feedback. She's no longer attached to outcomes because she trusts the process. She's no longer bitter about what didn't work because she believes that what's meant for her will never require her to beg. Her peace is no longer dependent on people's approval or life's timing. It's rooted in purpose. And now she carries herself with grace. The same woman who once cried over closed doors now thanks God for them. The same woman who once begged for attention now walks confidently in her own lane. The same woman who once questioned her worth now knows that rejection was the refining fire that revealed it. She no longer views rejection as a wound, but as wisdom. It taught her patience. It taught her faith. It taught her to trust herself and her journey. Because the truth is, rejection was never about what she lost. It was about what she was being led toward. Every time life said no, it was redirecting her to a bigger yes. Every time someone left, it was making room for growth. Every time she fell, positioning her to rise higher. Rejection redirected her from dependency to destiny, from confusion to clarity, from pain to power. And now, when she looks back, she doesn't see rejection anymore. She sees redirection, refinement, and resurrection. She sees how every closed door led her exactly where she was meant to be. She's no longer angry about who left or what didn't work out. She's grateful, because if it had worked out the way she wanted, she wouldn't have discovered who she was meant to become. Faith is the unseen fire that keeps a woman moving when everything around her says stop. It is the quiet whisper in her soul that says, keep going. You're not done yet. It is the invisible strength that holds her when logic fails, when plans collapse, and when the path ahead seems shrouded in darkness. Faith does not remove the storm, but it gives her the courage to walk through it. It doesn't promise ease, but it guarantees endurance. Faith is the reason she rises again and again, even when she has every reason to give up. There comes a moment in every woman's journey when what she sees no longer aligns with what she believes. Life feels unfair, dreams delay, doors close, prayers seem unanswered. It's in those moments that faith becomes her anchor. Because faith isn't about seeing the whole picture, it's about trusting the artist. It's not about understanding every step. It's about knowing that every step has meaning. When she has faith, she stops asking why me and starts saying use me. Faith is what separates the woman who gives up from the woman who grows up. The one who gives up sees obstacles as endings. The one who grows up sees them as beginnings in disguise. Faith gives her spiritual vision, the kind that sees beyond the visible. While others see walls, she sees doors waiting to open. While others see endings, she sees transformation. While others see impossibility, she whispers, watch me believe. There's something powerful about a woman whose faith has been tested. Because once she's walked through fire and still chosen to trust, nothing can shake her. She knows that faith doesn't mean everything will make sense. It means she'll have peace even when it doesn't. She's learned that faith is not a feeling, it's a decision. It's the decision to keep walking when she's tired, to keep hoping when she's hurting, to keep believing when nothing seems to be working. Faith has been her fuel when strength ran out. It has been her compass when direction disappeared. It has been her comfort when loneliness felt heavy. Faith has carried her through silent seasons when no one saw her effort. It's what whispered, you're closer than you think. Faith made her hold her head high when her heart was breaking. It made her smile through tears and keep moving when standing still would have been easier. You see, faith doesn't deny the reality of her pain. It just refuses to let pain define her reality. Faith allows her to see purpose in the waiting, beauty in the brokenness, and grace in the growth. Faith turns her delays into preparation and her disappointments into direction. Faith helps her understand that sometimes unanswered prayers are actually her greatest protection. When faith fuels her, she stops chasing outcomes and starts chasing alignment. She no longer prays for everything to go her way. She prays for strength to walk in the right way. She learns to release control, not because she's weak, but because she's wise enough to know that divine timing is always better than her own. She stops worrying about when things will happen and starts focusing on how she's growing while she waits. Faith gives her patience. It teaches her to trust the process even when it's slow, to rest in uncertainty without losing peace, to believe that just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it won't. She learns to trust that sometimes the waiting season is the making season. Faith doesn't rush. It refines, it builds her endurance, strengthens her character, and prepares her heart for what's ahead. A woman who walks by faith doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. Her faith speaks louder than her fear. She's not swayed by the noise of opinions or the weight of doubt. She's learned that faith and fear cannot live in the same house. One must go. And she chooses faith every time because she's seen what happens when she trusts, even when she doesn't understand. She's seen doors open that no one else could open. She's seen healing come from the very places that once hurt her. She's seen blessings rise from what she thought were ashes. Faith also teaches her humility. It reminds her that she doesn't have to have it all figured out to move forward. She doesn't have to know every detail to take the next step. She just needs to trust that each step, no matter how small, is leading her somewhere sacred. Faith is not about having the map. It's about trusting the one guiding her through the journey. And because faith fuels her, she no longer measures success by what she sees, but by what she feels growing within. Her victories are not always visible. They're often silent, eternal transformations. Faith makes her strong in stillness. It makes her resilient in silence. It gives her a confidence that doesn't come from circumstances, but from conviction. She learns that faith is not loud. It's steady. It doesn't shout for attention. It quietly sustains her. It doesn't promise instant results. It promises lasting growth. Faith is the reason she can stand tall even after falling, smile even after sorrow, and hope even after heartbreak. Because she knows that every test is temporary, but the lessons are eternal. Faith becomes her rhythm. Every morning she wakes up and whispers, "I still believe." Every night she lays down and says, I'm still grateful. She knows that even when life doesn't look like what she prayed for, it's still moving in her favor, because faith reminds her that nothing is wasted. Not the pain, not the waiting, not the detours. Everything is working together to create something meaningful. Her faith also becomes contagious. Others see her calm in chaos and wonder how she does it. They see her hope when everything looks hopeless. They see her grace when life feels heavy. What they don't realize is that it's not her strength they're witnessing, it's her faith. Faith has made her radiant. Faith has made her fearless. Faith has made her unstoppable. And because she lives by faith, she no longer fears what's ahead. She's learned that even if the path changes, purpose doesn't. Even if people walk away, her destiny remains. Even if life doesn't go according to plan, it always goes according to promise. Faith teaches her that every closed door is protection, every delay is preparation, and every disappointment is divine redirection. Now she moves differently. She no longer reacts, she responds. She no longer panics, she prays. She no longer doubts, she declares. Her language has changed. Her energy has shifted. Her heart has matured. She understands that faith isn't about everything making sense. It's about everything finding purpose. Faith is her secret weapon. It's what keeps her grounded when the ground shakes. It's what helps her rise when life knocks her down. It's what allows her to dance in the dark, laugh in the waiting, and trust in the unknown. Faith is the wind beneath her wings, the oil in her lamp, the fire in her bones. It doesn't just sustain her, it transforms her. And so she keeps walking, not because the path is easy, but because the promise is sure. She keeps believing, not because everything is clear, but because everything is connected. She keeps trusting, not because she knows how it will end, because she knows who's leading her there. Faith fuels her forward through uncertainty, through struggle, through silence. It keeps her anchored when the waves rise. It keeps her steady when the winds change, and it keeps her hopeful when the night feels long. Because deep down, she knows one truth: faith has never failed her. Every time she's chosen to trust, she's found strength. Every time she's chosen to believe, she's found breakthrough. Every time she's chosen to keep going, she's discovered that the light she was looking for was always within her. There are women who walk into a room and everything changes. Not because of what they wear, not because of how they speak, but because of the energy they carry. Her presence doesn't need to announce itself. It's felt before a word is spoken. There's a calmness in her spirit, a quiet confidence in her walk, divine authority in her demeanor. She doesn't seek attention. She commands respect. She doesn't try to shine. She is light. Her presence doesn't compete, it completes. And when she shows up, the atmosphere realigns. This woman has been through fire, yet she carries peace. She has been broken, yet she radiates wholeness. She has known loss, yet she emanates gratitude. Her presence is powerful not because her life is perfect, because her spirit is anchored. She has learned that strength is not loud, it's still. Power is not forceful, it's peaceful. Her presence shifts atmospheres because she has mastered the art of inner alignment. What's happening around her no longer dictates what's happening within her. People feel it. They may not know why they feel lighter, calmer, or more hopeful when she's near, but it's her spirit doing the work. Her energy speaks in silence. It says, "You are safe here. You are seen here. You are loved here." Because she operates from a place of deep authenticity. She carries a vibration that awakens others. She has learned to be a vessel, not a victim. When she walks into chaos, peace follows. When she steps into confusion, clarity begins to form. When she opens her mouth, wisdom flows like a river. But she didn't always carry this kind of presence. There was a time when she was ruled by fear, when her voice shook. Her heart was unsure. Life tested her. People betrayed her. Circumstances crushed her, but she learned to find stillness in storms, to choose grace over anger, to let prayer replace panic, and slowly she began to change, not just in her actions, but in her energy. Healing shifted her frequency, forgiveness lightened her spirit, purpose became her compass, and peace became her power. Presence now carries the weight of experience and the fragrance of wisdom. You can tell she's been through something sacred. Something that broke her down. She doesn't need to prove her worth, she embodies it. She doesn't need validation from crowds. She's validated by calling. She's not swayed by noise, she listens to whispers. The same woman who once sought approval now simply walks in truth. And truth has a sound, steady, unshakable, undeniable. When she speaks, even few words linger long after she's gone. Her words don't just fill space, they transform it. Her laughter has healing in it. Her silence has strength in it. Her smile carries peace that can disarm pain. People find themselves breathing easier around her, not because she fixes them, but because she reminds them of what's possible. She doesn't drain energy, she restores it. She doesn't dominate, she balances. She doesn't demand attention, her authenticity attracts it naturally. She has learned that true power doesn't come from position, it comes from presence. Presence is spiritual authority. It's the ability to stand firm in who you are without needing to control or convince anyone else. She knows that energy never lies, so she protects hers. She keeps her circle clean, her boundaries firm, and her heart open, because she understands that what she carries is sacred. And not everyone is meant to touch it. Presence shifts atmospheres because she's done the inner work. She's faced her shadows. She's confronted her pain. She's released resentment. She's learned that peace is not found in the absence of problems, but in the presence of perspective. She's learned that stillness is strength. Silence can speak volumes. That softness can conquer storms. When she walks into a room, the anxious feel calmer, the weary feel lighter, the hopeless feel seen. She doesn't even need to say much. Her energy does the speaking. Her spirit says, "I've been where you are. I know you'll make it through." That's why people trust her presence. It's not performance, it's purity. She doesn't project her pain onto others. She transforms it into power. Even her solitude is sacred. She understands that her power is replenished in silence. She doesn't fear being alone, because she knows that's where she reconnects with her source. She prays not for people to notice her, for her presence to bring peace wherever she goes. She asks for discernment, not dominance. She seeks to uplift, not to impress, because she's realized that leadership doesn't always look like a stage. It often looks like stability. Presence shifts atmospheres because she embodies love in motion. Love is her language. Grace is her posture. Compassion is her strength. She listens without judgment. She uplifts without condition. She moves with humility even when she has every reason to boast. She's learned that true queens fix each other's crowns without announcing it. Her presence is a quiet revolution. It changes people by simply being authentic. She knows energy is contagious, so she chooses hers intentionally. She enters rooms with gratitude, not ego, with service, not superiority, with faith, not fear. That's why doors open for her effortlessly, because her presence prepares the way before her words ever do. People remember her not for what she said, for how they felt in her presence. That's legacy. And because she walks with divine awareness, she senses when something feels off. She can walk into a space heavy with tension and instantly bring calm just by being herself. Her energy is not reactive, it's redemptive. It doesn't absorb negativity, it transforms it. She's learned that she doesn't have to fight for peace. She is peace. Presence is not about perfection. It's about alignment. She's aligned with her purpose, her truth, and her source. That alignment makes her magnetic. Opportunities find her. The right people are drawn to her. Even challenges recognize her strength and come to refine her, not destroy her. She's learned that her energy is her signature, and she signs every space she enters with grace. When she leaves, people feel it. The room feels quieter, lighter, different, not because she took something, but because she left something behind, a residue of peace, a trace of courage, a reminder that calm is possible, that kindness is strength, that authenticity still exists. She doesn't just shift atmospheres, she heals them. Beautiful thing is, she doesn't even realize how powerful she is. She's not trying to be special. She's simply being who she was created to be. Power flows effortlessly because it's natural, not forced. She doesn't compete with anyone. She just connects with purpose, with people, with peace. She walks in rooms that once intimidated her with her head held high, knowing she belongs wherever she stands. Because her worth is not situational, it's spiritual. Her presence is evidence of what happens when a woman chooses healing over bitterness, purpose over pain, faith over fear. So yes, her presence shifts atmospheres because her soul has been seasoned, her heart has been refined, and her spirit has been aligned with something higher. She carries the frequency of grace, the vibration of truth, and the fragrance of peace. There's a certain kind of woman who doesn't break when life gets heavy. She bends, she stretches, she adjusts, but she never breaks. She might fall for a moment, but she always gets back up stronger than before. She's unstoppable, not because everything goes her way, because she refuses to stay down when it doesn't. She's learned that resilience is not built in comfort, it's born in the fire. Every storm she's faced has sharpened her, every disappointment has deepened her, and every setback has trained her spirit for greatness. She's unstoppable because she's learned to turn pain into power. Life has tested her over and over, and every time she's come out refined, wiser, and more determined. She's faced moments where she didn't think she could keep going. Tears blurred her vision and loneliness wrapped around her heart like a heavy fog. But even then, she whispered to herself, this is not the end. She held on, not because it was easy, but because something deep inside her refused to let go of hope. This woman doesn't run from challenges anymore. She runs through them. She's learned that every obstacle carries a lesson and every delay holds direction. She's discovered that strength isn't about never falling, it's about never staying fallen. Each time life tried to bury her, she grew roots. Each time she was underestimated, she bloomed. Each time she was rejected, she rose higher. Now, when people look at her, they see grace. They don't always see the grit it took to get here. She's unstoppable because she made peace with her past. She no longer lets old wounds dictate her worth. She stopped rehearsing the pain and started rewriting her story. The betrayal that once broke her now reminds her that she can survive anything. The heartbreak that once shattered her now fuels her capacity to love herself deeper. Failures that once embarrassed her now serve as evidence that she had the courage to try. Nothing she's been through has gone to waste. It all became fuel. She's unstoppable because she doesn't seek validation anymore. She used to shrink herself to fit in, to be liked, to be chosen. Now she's learned that she was never meant to blend in. She was meant to stand out. She knows her worth, and she walks in it unapologetically. She doesn't chase approval. She moves in alignment. Her confidence doesn't come from compliments. It comes from clarity. She's not moved by opinions because she's grounded in purpose, and that's what makes her so powerful. She's driven by something deeper than motivation. Motivation fades, purpose sustains. Even when she's tired, she keeps going because her why is bigger than her how. She doesn't need perfect conditions to move forward. She creates momentum in imperfection. She's learned that progress is power, and as long as she's moving, even slowly, she's winning. She's unstoppable because she doesn't compare her journey to anyone else's. She knows that her path is unique, her timing is divine, and her process is sacred. She celebrates others without questioning her own lane. She's not in competition with anyone. She's in alignment with destiny. She's learned that envy is the enemy of elevation, so she stays focused on her own growth. While others gossip, she builds. While others complain, she creates. While others quit, she keeps moving. There's a sacred strength in her now, the kind that can't be taught in books or found in titles. It's the strength that comes from surviving what was meant to destroy her. She's unstoppable because she's resilient. She's been through things that should have broken her spirit, but instead, they built her backbone. Life threw storms at her. She learned how to dance in the rain. People threw stones, but she used them to build her foundation. She's unstoppable because she walks with faith. She's seen enough to know that every fall is followed by a rise. Every ending hides a beginning. Every detour still leads to destiny. Her faith is not naive, it's tested, proven, and alive. She's learned that even when the path is unclear, she can trust the process. She doesn't need to know how everything will unfold. She just knows she's being led towards something greater. She's unstoppable because she doesn't fear failure. She understands that failing doesn't mean she's finished. It means she's learning. Every time she falls short, she gains wisdom. Every time she tries again, she grows stronger. She's no longer defined by outcomes. She's defined by persistence. The world may count her losses, but she counts her lessons. And those lessons have made her unstoppable. She's unstoppable because she has mastered the art of letting go. She no longer clings to things that drain her energy or people who can't match her growth. She knows that release is a form of respect for herself and her journey. Letting go no longer feels like loss, it feels like alignment. She's learned that peace is more valuable than popularity and freedom is worth more than familiarity. She's unstoppable because she walks with intention. Every step she takes is guided by purpose, not pressure. She's learned to pause, to pray, to prepare, and then to proceed with power. She's not driven by urgency anymore. She's led by wisdom. She understands that timing is divine and that sometimes stillness is strategy. She doesn't rush anymore because she knows what's meant for her will never miss her. When she enters a room now, her presence commands attention, not because she demands it, but because she embodies it. Her aura radiates strength, her eyes speak truth, and her energy carries peace. She doesn't have to prove she's unstoppable. It's felt in how she carries herself. Every scar tells a story. Every smile hides a victory. And every breath she takes is a reminder that she made it through battles others didn't even see. She's unstoppable because she's learned to rise without resentment. She doesn't waste energy on revenge or bitterness. She knows that peace is her power. She lets karma handle what ego once tried to fix. She's learned that forgiveness is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's how she keeps her heart light and her spirit free. She moves forward not because it's easy, because she refuses to be chained to anything that no longer serves her evolution. She's unstoppable because she lives from within. Her validation, her joy, her strength all come from her connection to something greater than herself. She has learned that her spirit is her superpower. The more she aligns with that, the less external noise can distract her. The world may change around her, but she remains steady. Every day she wakes up, she chooses to rise. She chooses to keep showing up even when she's tired. She chooses to believe in herself even when doubt whispers. She chooses to move forward even when the road is rough. She's unstoppable because she keeps choosing growth over comfort, purpose over pleasure, and strength over surrender. She's the woman who once doubted her power, but now walks fully in it. The woman who once questioned her path, but now creates her own. The woman who once hid her light, but now lets it shine fearlessly. She's unstoppable because she finally understands nothing outside of her can stop what's been ignited within her. She's not unstoppable because she's unbreakable. She's unstoppable because she knows how to rebuild. Every fall became a foundation. Every scar became a story. Every season became a stepping stone. She is living proof that no amount of opposition can defeat a woman who refuses to quit. When life tests her again, and it will, she won't panic. She'll smile, straighten her crown, and say, I've been here before. I know how to rise. Because unstoppable doesn't mean untouchable. It means unyielding. It means no matter what comes her way, she will keep going. She will keep believing. She will keep evolving.